Hey, and welcome to The Working Gal. Our mission, to inspire all the working gals around the world and motivate them to build the professional and personal life they want. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Working Gal. If you're new here, we're all about helping modern working women navigate their careers with confidence and clarity. And today, we're talking about something that makes most of us want to run and hide under our desks: salary negotiation. Here's a stat that should get your attention. The average person who negotiates their starting salary earns $1 million more over their lifetime. $1 million. Let that sink in for a second. But here's the thing, only 7% of women negotiate their first job offer. 7%. Meanwhile, 57% of men do. And that gap, it compounds every single time you switch jobs, get a promotion, or stay silent when you should be speaking up. So today we're going to break down exactly how to negotiate your salary, even when it feels uncomfortable. Trust me, I get it. It does feel uncomfortable. But by the end of this video, you're going to have word for word scripts, research strategies, and the confidence to advocate for yourself because you deserve to be paid what you're worth. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, we need to talk about why women negotiate less in the first place. Because it's not about confidence and it's not about knowing your worth. The research actually shows something much more complicated. Women face what researchers call the social cost of negotiating. Basically, when women negotiate, they're more likely to be perceived as difficult, demanding, or not a team player. Men who use the exact same language, they're seen as assertive and strong leaders. The double standard is real, and it's been proven in study after study. There was this famous study where they had actors negotiate using identical scripts, same words, same tone, everything. The men were rated as confident and competent. The women were rated as aggressive and less likable. And here's the kicker, both men and women rated them this way. It's not just a problem with male hiring managers. It's a systemic bias we've all internalized. So what does this mean? Does it mean we shouldn't negotiate? Absolutely not. It means we need to be strategic about how we negotiate. Here's the truth. Yes, you might face pushback. Yes, someone might think you're asking for too much. But you know what's more expensive than someone thinking you're difficult? Leaving $500,000 on the table over your career because you were too afraid to ask. The cost of silence is always higher than the cost of speaking up. And here's something else to remember. The companies that penalize women for negotiating, those aren't the companies you want to work for anyway. A good employer will respect you more for knowing your value. So think of negotiation as a screening tool. If they react badly to you advocating for yourself, you've just learned something very valuable about their culture. Now let's talk about how to actually overcome this. The key is to frame your negotiation not as a demand, but as a collaborative, problem-solving conversation. Instead of saying, I need this, you say, I'm really excited about this opportunity and I want to find a compensation package that reflects the value I'll bring to the team. See the difference? Same goal, different framing. And if this feels weird, I want to point out one thing. You're not being difficult. You're being thoughtful and strategic about how you can contribute most effectively. All right, so before you can negotiate anything, you need to know what you're worth. And I'm not talking about your feelings. I'm talking about cold, hard data. This is the research phase, and it's absolutely critical. You cannot negotiate effectively if you don't know the market rate for your role. So here's exactly what you need to do. First, go to salary comparison websites, Glassdoor, PayScale, Salary.com, or Levels.fyi if you're in tech. Look up your specific job title in your specific location. And don't just look at the average, look at the range. You want to know what the 25th percentile makes, what the median is, and what the 90th percentile makes. This gives you a realistic picture of what's possible. Second, factor in your experience level. If you have 5 years of experience, you should be aiming for the higher end of that range. If you're more junior, you'll be somewhere in the middle. Be honest with yourself about where you fall. Third, consider the company size and industry. A startup might pay differently than a Fortune 500 company. A tech company in San Francisco pays differently than a nonprofit in a smaller city. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Fourth, and this is huge, talk to people in your network, reach out to women in similar roles and ask what they're making. I know this feels uncomfortable. We've been taught that talking about money is taboo, but that taboo only benefits employers. Salary transparency is how we close the pay gap. So start those conversations. You can say something like, "Hey, I'm interviewing for a role and trying to figure out fair compensation. Would you be comfortable sharing what the typical range is for someone with our experience level?" Most people will respect that you're asking directly and professionally. Now, once you have all this data, here's what you do with it. Take the median salary you found and add 15 to 20%. That's your target number. Why? Because you're going to be negotiating down from there. You never want to anchor at the lowest number you'd accept. Always aim higher than what you'd be happy with. Write this number down, memorize it. Practice saying it out loud until it doesn't make you want to throw up. Because when they ask what your salary expectations are, you need to be able to say that number confidently without hedging or apologizing. And now, this is the part you've been waiting for. What are the actual words to say? To help you find the right words, I'm going to give you scripts for different scenarios, and I want you to save this video so you can come back to it when you need it. Scenario 1, they make you an offer and ask if you'll accept. Here's what you say. "Thank you so much for this offer. I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with the team. I'd like to take a day or two to review everything carefully and get back to you. Would that work?" Be careful. Never, ever accept on the spot, even if it's a great offer or the job of your dreams. You want time to review, to think, and to prepare your negotiation. Taking time to consider shows that you're thoughtful and strategic, and you are not jumping into decisions without prior reflection. It doesn't show that you're ungrateful. Scenario 2, you've reviewed the offer and you want to negotiate higher. So now you can say, "Thank you again for this offer. I've given it a lot of thought and I'm genuinely excited about the role and the impact I can make. Based on my research into market rates for this position and considering my experience and skill set, I was hoping we could discuss a salary of," this is where you state your number. And then you add, "I believe this reflects the value I'll bring to the team, and I'm confident I can exceed expectations in this role." Notice what we're doing here. We're expressing enthusiasm. We're backing up our requests with data. We're connecting it to the value we'll provide. We're not apologizing or hedging. We're stating our case clearly and confidently. And now let's move to scenario 3. They say the number you asked for is too high. Here you can reply, "I understand. Can you help me understand what went into determining the initial offer? I want to make sure I'm thinking about this correctly." This does two things. First, it shows you're open to dialogue. Second, it makes them explain their reasoning, which often reveals room for movement. Then you say, "Based on what you've shared and the market research I've done, would there be flexibility to meet somewhere in the middle, perhaps at," now you state a number that is between what you asked and what they offered. Now, scenario 4, they ask what you're currently making. Okay, this is tricky, and honestly, in many states, it's now illegal for them to ask this. But if they do, here's what you say. "I'm focusing on the value I can bring to this role rather than my current compensation. Based on my research, the market range for this position is," you give them the number you found in your research, the one I told you to memorize before. "Given my experience at the position's requirements, I'm targeting the higher end of that range." What you are doing here is you're deflecting the question and reframing it around market value, not your current salary. Your current salary is irrelevant to what you're worth in a new role and shouldn't be part of the conversation. Don't let them anchor you to a potentially underpaid position. Let's move to scenario 5. They ask about your salary expectations up front before making an offer. You can handle this by saying, I'm sure you have a range budgeted for this position. I'd love to hear what that is, and then I can let you know if we're aligned. Basically, you're putting the ball back in their court. Whoever names a number first in a negotiation typically loses. For this reason, you need to make them show their cards first. But if they absolutely won't give you a range, then you say, based on my research, I'd be looking for something in the range of your researched range, with my target being your target number, given my qualifications. You can enlist your qualifications here. Okay, so you've made your case and they come back with, that's our final offer. What do? First, don't panic. This is a negotiation tactic. So, final offer often isn't actually final, but even if it is, you still have options. Here's what you say: I really appreciate you working with me on this. The salary is important to me, but I'm also thinking about the complete compensation package. Could we talk about other aspects of the offer? This transitions you into non-salary negotiations, which we'll cover in a minute. But sometimes they actually do have some salary flexibility and they're just testing to see how badly you want it. So if you really believe there's room to move, you can try this. I understand budget constraints and I want to be reasonable. What if we structured it as now state a slightly lower base salary with a performance bonus, equity, or sign-on bonus? That way, we're both getting what we need. This way, you're showing flexibility while still advocating for yourself, and basically you're problem solving together. However, the truth is that sometimes it really is their final offer, and the only thing you can do is to make a decision. Is this offer acceptable to you or not? If it's below your minimum acceptable salary, you need to be willing to walk away. And I know that this sounds scary, but as scary as it sounds, accepting a lowball offer sets the stage for every future salary you'll earn at that company. AKA, you'll be playing catch up forever. On the other hand, if their final offer is in the acceptable range, just not ideal, you can accept it with a timeline attached, and then you can say, I'm willing to accept this offer because I'm excited about the opportunity. I'd like to propose that we revisit compensation in 6 months once I've had a chance to demonstrate my value. Does that seem reasonable? This shows you're a team player while also making it clear that you expect fair compensation as you prove yourself. Let's talk about all the other things you can negotiate besides base salary, because sometimes the salary really is fixed, but there are a ton of other valuable benefits on the table. Extra PTO. Listen to me. This is important. If they can't move on salary, ask for an additional week of vacation. You can frame it as, I value work-life balance, and having that extra time to recharge will help me bring my best to the role. Flexible work arrangements, that could be remote work days, flexible hours, or even compressed work weeks. The pandemic proved we can work effectively from anywhere, and if flexibility matters to you, negotiate for it now. Don't assume you can figure it out later. In these cases, the sooner, the better. Professional development budget. Ask for a dedicated budget for conferences, courses, and certifications. Professional development is not only an investment in your growth, but it also benefits them. Title. Sometimes a better title costs them nothing, but means everything for your career trajectory. If they can't pay you what you want, negotiate for the senior title. A better title will help you in your next negotiation. Sign-on bonus. This is a one-time payment that doesn't affect their annual budget the same way a salary does, and it's often easier for them to approve. You can say, if there's not flexibility on the base salary, would a sign-on bonus be possible? Stock options or equity. Especially at startups, this can be significant. Make sure you understand the vesting schedule and what the equity is actually worth. Earlier performance review. Instead of waiting a full year for your first review and potential raise, negotiate to have it at 6 months. This gives you a chance to prove your value and renegotiate sooner. However, this heavily depends on the company's processes and it's not an easy win. Relocation assistance or remote work setup budget. If you're moving for the job or working from home, these costs are real, so don't be shy about asking them to cover it. Now, here is a script for non-salary negotiation. I understand the salary is fixed at this point. I'm still very interested in the role. Would there be flexibility around another benefit, such as ask for the benefit? This would help offset the salary gap and would be really valuable to me as I transition into the role. This way, you're showing you're solution oriented and willing to be flexible, but you're not just rolling over. Now, let's talk about when you need to walk away from an offer. This is actually the hardest part, especially if you really need a job or you're excited about the company or you're worried you won't get another offer. But I need you to listen to me when I'm saying this. Walking away from the wrong offer is always better than accepting it. So you should walk away if to begin with the salary is significantly below market rate and they won't negotiate. This is the time to remember that you're not a charity. Companies have budgets for salaries, so if they're lowballing you, it's a choice they're making, not a constraint they're under. You should also walk away if they react negatively to you negotiating. If they rescind an offer or get angry because you asked for fair compensation, you've just dodged a massive bullet. Because imagine working for people who think you should be grateful for being underpaid. You don't want that because it may sound okay at first, but it can literally cost you in the future. Another reason to walk away and never look back is when the role isn't what was described in interviews. For instance, if you realize that they changed the responsibilities, the reporting structure, or anything significant, that's a red flag because it shows a lack of integrity or organizational chaos. Also, if you have to accept terms that compromise your values or well being, don't accept that. Toxic culture, unethical practices, or working conditions that will burn you out are non negotiable, no matter the salary or the position. Walk away if your gut is screaming no. Listen to it. Your intuition is processing information your conscious brain hasn't caught up with yet. And how to walk away professionally. You can say this. Thank you so much for this opportunity, but after careful consideration, I've decided to pursue a different direction that's a better fit for where I am in my career. I really appreciate your time and the chance to learn more about the team. That's it. You don't need to over explain, you don't need to apologize. You're making a professional decision just like they would. Remember, you don't owe them anything. And here's what usually happens when you're willing to walk away. Sometimes they come back with a better offer. Not always, but sometimes. Because walking away signals that you know your worth and you're not desperate. And that confidence is attractive to employers. But even if they don't come back, you've just demonstrated to yourself that you have boundaries and standards. That confidence will serve you in every negotiation going forward. All right, we've covered a lot today, but let's recap the key points. 1, women negotiate less because of real social costs, but the cost of not negotiating is higher. 2, always do your research and know your market value before any negotiation. 3, when you sit at the negotiation table, use specific scripts and frame negotiation as collaborative problem solving. When they say final offer, explore non-salary benefits. And know when to walk away. Negotiation is not a game, or it's not about you being difficult and high maintenance. Negotiation is about being clear about your value and advocating for fair compensation, because every time you negotiate, you're not just helping yourself, you're making it easier for the next woman who sits at that table. In the description below, I have gathered useful information and resources to help you navigate salary negotiations more effectively. and you can watch our previous video on the 7 science-backed ways to build unshakable confidence that will help you in your negotiation efforts. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more career content from The Working Gal, and send it a friend that you think needs to listen to it. And don't forget to drop a comment and let me know, what's your biggest fear about salary negotiation? You deserve to be paid what you're worth. Now you know how to make it happen.